Spurs preview, Statman Dave. Has Ole Gunnar Solskjaer made the greatest start in English football than any manager has ever?
Yes.
Why?
I think it's a combination of a number of things. The good feel sort of nature of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, the players get on with him. I think there's a number of little aspects of United's game that's massively improved. You think in the one-touch play in the final third, counter-attacking and actually scoring goals, which we didn't see under Jose Mourinho, which is a really weird thing. And I think there's other aspects, the fullbacks getting high when the right fullbacks are playing. There's just some good positivity there that has given United a lot in the final third, which they didn't have under Mourinho.
Paul, I mentioned on a preview a couple of weeks ago, that this is probably, in my opinion, the best United have played since Fergie left. Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, the bar is the 4 games in a row in April, and I think it's the end of March, beginning of April 2015, back end of Louis van Gaal's first season when there was the game against Tottenham, away to Liverpool, home to Aston Villa, and then home to City. I think it was in that order, where we played excellent football, but it didn't last. I mean, it only lasted 4 games, and he then had another season where it didn't last at all. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's hard to argue that, with the exception of those 4 games, this is certainly. I mean, the Reading game wasn't very good, and there were issues. There were issues. At Newcastle away, mostly Antonio Valencia, to be fair. But apart from that, it's been, and even Newcastle away, yeah, it's been really good ever since he arrived, and it's an absolute delight. And it was so obvious what needed to change, and he's changed the things that obviously needed to change. So it's lovely.
What I like as well is that some of the problems that maybe over the last few seasons that we've not, some of the problems that we've had under Ole's tenure so far, like being unable to keep clean sheets, but we're winning games 4-1. That's like such an opposite of the problems that we've had over the last few years at Manchester United. Adam, do you think we all need to calm down a little bit? I mean, some of these teams that we haven't beat them maybe aren't at the greatest quality, are they?
Yeah, we do need to calm down, but then you say that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's already got as many clean sheets, I think, or almost as many clean sheets as we did under Jose Mourinho in the league campaign, I think. You look at the goals scored, we never got over +2 goal difference or +3 goal difference in the league, and now it's +11. Regardless of opposition, it's a lot better. I think that's safe to say. The only thing for me is, I feel like anybody, maybe not anybody, but I feel it was so easy to make that change, because all you had to do would go in there and be the opposite of Jose Mourinho in your message to the players, in your kind of like, I'm not going to say tactics, because I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has done some interesting things tactically and a lot of different things in different games, but in terms of the messages being there for the players to, lads, go out there, you can make mistakes, but as long as you're working for the team, as long as you're fighting, as long as you're trying to do the right things, that's okay. And I think he's got everything right in that aspect, in terms of the man management and in terms of speaking publicly in the press. A lot of these things Jose Mourinho wasn't doing, and the players have definitely reacted to that. Now, whether Ole Gunnar Solskjaer could do that he's going to do it for 6 months. Whether he could do that for 6 years is another story, because he is now in there in a caretaker role where he's seen as, just somebody that's kind of like this breath of fresh air. He's come in, he's changed everything around. The players don't really have to be scared by him, because he's not their manager for a long period of time, potentially. His role and his relationship with players may change if he took that job permanently, and then he's got to manage them on a season-long basis. But I think the things that he does, and I think the things that he's picked up from Sir Alex Ferguson, I think Paul covered a lot of these in what he mentioned in the manager debate the other day. I think when you think of those things that he's picked up from Fergie, I think that will actually help him in the long term. So it's a weird one. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has made a fantastic start. He's changed things around. Obviously a big test against Tottenham, but I don't think it's just a case of... I'm scared to get excited, is what I'm going to say.
That is it. You're reluctant to get excited. That's what it is after what we've had in the past. I totally get that.
I think when people compare Sir Matt Busby's start to Sir Alex, Sir Ole's start, I think it's interesting because obviously you look at the opposition now. I know Sir Matt Busby did have Chelsea and Liverpool in his opening 4 games. I think he beat Liverpool like 5-0. But we had something like Grimsby in there and like other opposition like that, I think it was. I can't remember exactly, but it's 2 opposition that are no longer in the top 2 leagues. And it's like the opposition wasn't very good then either. So, yes, you can compare, but let's not get carried away. It doesn't mean he's going to go on to do the things that Sir Matt did or Sir Alex did, but he might win the Champions League this season.
That's a massive mate. I was about to come out and say something then. I was about to say, like, for all the people about to comment after me saying that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is the greatest manager ever, like, we are joking.
Statistically, he is, though.
Just stop it.
100%
No.
win rate.
I think the big question has to be the game against Spurs, though, doesn't it? We've not seen him come up against the top side. You could argue, well, the only real argument against him so far is that the teams that he's played have been considered easy wins. This game against Spurs, massive though. Do you think this is a little bit of a boss battle, Paul, in terms of, it's almost like the final for the United job, isn't it?
Was it the season before Mourinho?
David like that.
The season before Mourinho got the Chelsea job, there was that game where there was 2 managers in the running for the Chelsea job and they played each other and Mourinho's Porto won it in the Champions League, and that felt like the final for the Chelsea job under Abramovich. They played Chelsea.
Was it Didier Deschamps at Monaco then?
Yeah, possibly, but maybe the game before that Ranieri played against Porto. Anyway, who cares?
We don't care about Chelsea.
No, exactly. Who finished 15th in 1945-46, by the way, or 46-47. The other thing about that stat that's weird is those were not anything like Matt Busby's first 5 Man United games, because he basically took over the year before when it was still the War League. It's just that they were his first 5 competitive games. So he'd had the squad for a year by that point. Anyway, as a side note, so Matt is not in the running for this job, unfortunately. Assuming the United hierarchy think that they can get Pochettino away from Spurs, which I'm sure, presumably, there must have been conversations somewhere along the way about that, then it's not going to be about who does better in this game, because basically the only way that plan changes is if there's some spanner in the works in terms of the practicalities of it, or if Solskjaer does such an extraordinary job between now and the end of the season that there's no way they can manoeuvre him out. And this game won't be the defining moment in that in any way. This game will, however, show us more about Solskjaer, because we know all we need to know about Pochettino already. But that doesn't, if he loses this game, that doesn't change anything about his qualities and his suitability for the United job. If Solskjaer pulls off like a tactical masterclass and wins this game, or even if United just give a genuinely good account of themselves and lose. Because this is the thing about these kind of big games. I can't think of too many big games in the last few years. I can think of plenty we've won, but I can't think of too many where we've lost but given a reasonable account of ourselves and just been bettered by a better side. That's a very different kettle of fish to the kind of fairly ritual humiliation that we've had along with the big wins. And I'm not just talking about the Portuguese manager who shall not be named. I'm also talking about the Scottish manager who shall not be named. There's been a lot of that. So it's going to be fascinating to see, and it's going to be fascinating to see how the players react to this kind of challenge. I have not looked forward to a game this much for, since last time Ole Gunnar Solskjaer managed a Man United game last weekend. It's exciting times.
And obviously we all know that this game won't be the defining factor. But Paul mentioned there that one of the ways that the plan could change for United is if Ole does an absolutely unbelievable job. Adam, what do you actually define as a good enough job for Ole to get the job permanently? For me, it's getting us into the Champions League next year. I think if he does that, you've got to give him it.
We could get into the Champions League next year by other teams just being completely awful, though.
Yeah, but we were nowhere near going to do it when Jose was here. It was never going to happen. We were probably going to finish 9th.
I disagree, because we could have... I don't know. We could have still snuck it. I know.
You really think Jose would have got us top 4?
I don't think it's where we finish, or... I think it's the manner of what he does, how he does it, and if there's improvement over that period of time. That's what we want to see. Jose Mourinho would still be in a job if we saw a man that wanted to be in a job. We saw a man speak like he had a plan, and we saw a man that implemented changes which brought improvement in his team. He never did any of those things, so he didn't deserve to keep his job. Now, Oli could have bad results, but still tick a lot of those boxes. But at the same time, Manchester United should be doing their due diligence, and we should be looking at other managers and seeing if Poch is available, because even if Oli finished fourth, won the Champions League, which would be amazing, or finished fourth, got to the last
10-year contract
or whatever, does that mean he deserves the job?
Yeah.
I don't think it necessarily does. No, you have to look at what he is doing.
Okay.
And if we can't get Poch, and if the club see another one as maybe above him, I think it should be between them two, by the way. And I'm not saying that just because of this game. It just kind of feels like they're the two best fits at the moment. If we can't get Poch, and Oli has done enough to say, you know what, maybe he deserves a year contract. Let's see what he can do. Because what I'm quite confident in Oli is that if he didn't get the results, he would still have the team playing the right football. He would still be, trying to probably bring in through good players. He'd still be, speaking correctly of the club and speaking correctly of the fans. And he wouldn't be bringing the club into any sort of just that horrible negative feel. So I think Oli could keep the job and have negative results. It depends what he shows, but I don't think he should be top choice just if he gets top four.
It's simplifying it a little bit. I get that.
Don't want top four. We don't want top four. Top four is not good enough.
No, I get that, but from the situation that we were in this season, and if we carry on playing the sort of free, attacking, flowing football that we've had over the last few weeks since Ollie's been here, and we were to get into the Champions League next season, I don't think there's any way you can not let him have the job.
But the question has to be, can another manager do better than Ollie?
Exactly.
That is available. If the answer is yes, you can't give him the job. If we can't get Poch and there's nothing else really there, the answer might be no one else is possibly going to do better than Ollie, so let's stick with what we got. But if Poch is available and we finish fourth and we think Poch wants the job, but we're just going to keep Ollie because it feels like the right thing to do, that's why I'm scared about this, guys. That's why I'm really worried about this, that we can't get Poch, we end up keeping Ollie, and it turns really sour. Not that I think it would, but it's just a big worry of mine.
Statman Dave, we've not seen Ole Gunnar Solskjaer take his Manchester United team to a relatively top-tier club. What do you think we can expect from the Reds?
Well, again, I think it'll be a lot more aggressive. I think that's the big thing in these games. I think the results have been pretty good the last few years against the top six sides. Not been the greatest of football, but the results have been there, and I think that's the difference with some managers, that they can't be pragmatic, and I think that's what we'll see from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. We might see a bit of pragmatism, which is a good thing. Like it's a brush that's painted with some managers, and it's very negative. But to win league titles, you need to be pragmatic. That's what Ferguson was perfect at. Exactly. Smash teams, and then he'd be pragmatic when he needed to be. And that's Ollie's got the smashing teams so far. Like, the complaints about beating these teams that we've got to play. You've got to beat these teams, and United have consistently failed under Moyes, Mourinho, and under Louis van Gaal to beat these weaker teams. And now we're doing that. So it's that other side of Ollie's game management and tactical nous of how to work. If Ollie plays a 3-5-2 this weekend, I'd be exceedingly happy. I think that's the way that you'd set up against this Spurs team at the moment, considering their shape and what they do well. So if he does something like that, incredible. All of his substitutions so far, been really good. Hasn't gone default, been like Mourinho every single time. Going to bring on Marouane Fellaini, not thinking about the game, evaluating the problems. He's been bringing the right players on at the right time, and that's been positive for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. So it's a big test for him. Pochettino's a fantastic manager, and we all know that. Pochettino as well is very fluid with his tactics. We could see something slightly different at Wembley. But what United need to do, which they haven't done in big games recently when they've lost them, you think Chelsea away where they conceded early, Spurs at Wembley when they conceded early, is start fast. And I think that's one of the big things Paul was sort of bringing to the table, is United need to start fast and play well and set the tempo. And that's a big thing that didn't happen under Mourinho. Mourinho was more of, let's sit back and wait for the counter-attack, instead of, well, we can actually press these guys. They've got a weakness here at centre-half. You push them out a certain direction, nick the ball and go. And I think that's what I want to see from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Aggressive football but maybe a slight pragmatism as well with that you can press in certain areas and then drop back and look to counter-attack.
Surely he's capable of that as a manager as well, a little bit of pragmatism. I mean, I'll be totally honest, I've not watched Mulder much over the last few years, but, you know, if you're winning titles, you're performing regularly against teams which are, you know, challenging for the title with you, then you've got to be ready. You've got to have that pragmatic side to your game. Yeah,
I think there was a game, the Europa League group that he topped in 15, 16, I think, and again played a number of really big sides. They also played Zenit last year or this year, and the first leg I think they lost, the second leg that they won. Change of tactics. And I think that's what you want to see. You want to see someone forward thinking and actually going, oh, you know, if we need to change something, let's do that. And that's what Solly's done. So that's kind of like the impressive side of what we've got to expect. But there's a lot on these players, because sometimes they get up for games and sometimes they don't. So it's all down to Ollie and motivating them.
Okay, on the way, we're talking about predicted 11s and going into a bit more detail on Spurs' team. We'll see you there. Right then, predicted 11s. This is where everyone, well, gets in their predicted 11. So, Dave, who do you think is going to play against Spurs at the weekend? Just bear in mind as well where you are in the table. Statman,
I'm actually
Dave.
top. When you've played enough games, I'm top, guys. Simple as that, mate.
I mean, that's one way of saying it. You're top out of the preview today.
It's really interesting, though. Mac used to be top of the league every single time when we did just get a point for a player, but now we're doing these average points.
It's almost as if
we spent half the season with a useless manager that could never tell what he was going to do.
It's almost as if when Adam doesn't get to pick the rules, he doesn't win.
Dave, you agreed a lot with his nonsense, so you kind of knew that.
Dave, you agree with his nonsense.
Cheers, funny enough, you just skating over it these days.
Well, sometimes he got it very right, as we sort of mentioned before against top six sides. Mourinho would get things right.
Right, we are not arguing about Mourinho anymore. That is gone. That is gone. That's in the past.
He's a little bit grumpy today.
It's in the past.
Please smile sometimes.
Streets don't forget. Statman Dave.
What was the score in the home leg of this fixture this season, Dave? Sorry.
Which one?
The home leg of this
one where we played really well for 45 minutes. Again, consistency of footballers and tactics.
Statman Dave,
and managers.
Tell me your team to play Tottenham Hotspur in 2019, please. Now.
It's okay. I just need to, I need to get my points average up. So, going to go 4-2-3-1. David De Gea in goal. Going to go Young, Smalling, Lindelof, Shaw, back four. Two holding midfielders, Herrera, Matic, and then a three behind Lukaku, Marcus Rashford, Paul Pogba, and Jesse Lingard. I think that's going to be the team. But, as I mentioned before, I'd like to see a 3-5-2. I think that would catch Spurs out, and that would be slightly different. I think the likes of Smalling, Jones, Lindelof as a back three, four across the middle, Young at left wing back, Matic, Herrera, Delo, Pogba behind Lukaku and Rashford. I think that would do bits against Spurs at Wembley.
Adam, talk to us. What's your starting 11, mate?
David De Gea in goal, Luke Shaw at left back. I think he'll go with Ashley Young at right back as well. I'm going with Lindelof and Jones at centre half. I think Smallings might be injured as well. I think
he's coming back. I think he's fit.
He was on physio room. It might be a slight doubt, but I'll hedge my bets and go with Jones. In midfield, Matic, Herrera, Pogba. Front three of Lingard, Rashford, Martial.
Adam trying to improve his 7.7 average rating
That's
on the predicted 11 league.
Not great, that.
Paul from United Rantcast is 8.2, which is quite impressive off 12 appearances. Paul, who are you putting in your team to play Tottenham?
Dave in goal. Literally any other human other than Antonio Valencia at right back. I'll go with Ashley Young. Lindelof, Jones,
so
Shaw.
Literally any other human.
Listen, he gets an awful lot of stick and he does make mistakes, but I think he works really well in the system. The only question is how much pragmatism is there engendered by the opposition. And given that Solskjaer has talked a very big game about how actually this is about playing to our strengths rather than trying to negate opposition weaknesses, I wonder whether we'll play to our strengths by not picking Valencia. So, yeah, Young, Jones, Lindelof, Shaw. I guess it's going to be that midfield three again of Matic, Pogba and Herrera. And then I think it's a big decision. Like, the Lukaku decision is a massive decision. He started against Reading, but was that the first game he started under Van Gaal? Van Gaal?
You're dreaming, Paul. You're still dreaming.
Something horrible. Bad feelings. I think that was the first game he started under Ollie. So do we assume that means that Lukaku's going to start this game? I'm not sure he should be on merit. But for some reason, I think maybe just out of habit, I'm picking him. But I think it'll be him, Rashford and Martial. I can't see him dropping either Rashford or Martial. I think out of those three, Lukaku's the least likely to be in the starting 11. So, yeah.
Okay, boys, thank you very much. All the starting 11s there that you've seen on screen. Right, moving on, let's talk about the opposition. Tottenham, 10 points ahead of us in the table. They are in third place. Having a relatively, well, at the moment, it's a relatively Spursy season, isn't it, really? Paul, what do you think is there? Well, you disagree with that?
Yeah, I think it's genuinely outrageous to suggest that this is a Spursy season.
There's a few more months yet, mate. That's why I'm saying it. They're doing well at the moment, but just you wait. It's going to go Spursy.
Spurs get accused of being bottlers. If you look at the 2 seasons they didn't win the league, particularly not the Leicester one, but the Chelsea one, they won I think they won 12 out of their last 13 games of that season. It's an absolutely outrageous accusation. And this season they're doing, considering, imagine. Sorry to bring him up again, but imagine the number of excuses Mourinho would have had if the board had spent naught money and they didn't have a home ground. They're having an amazing season given those 2 factors.
Dave, do you think it's unfair to call Spurs Spursy this season? There's still time for it all to fall apart, isn't there, in typical Tottenham fashion?
There is, but at the same time, we've seen some real, top performing sides all over the Premier League. I think that's kind of where Spurs have come up. Not really themselves, but Chelsea that season were excellent. You're thinking Leicester that season were excellent, and the investment is the big thing with Spurs. They've done incredibly well with their recruitment recently and how they've improved players. And, without that next level, because they're building a new stadium, you can't get to you can't spend 75 million on a goalkeeper. You can't go and spend 75 million on a centre-half like Liverpool did to progress yourself to that next level. So where they're doing it's an incredible, achievement. But it is, for Pochettino, it's like, what's next? We've heard in the media recently that he's saying, I kind of need some money. And for Spurs to progress, they need some money. So maybe that does make it a lot more, sort of a realistic option of Pochettino joining Manchester United if United want to go and spend and buy out his contract.
And can I just mention as well, Pochettino coming out recently and actually saying that Spurs need to spend money to compete. That's just him saying to United, come and get me, isn't it? That's it. That's just him saying, I want the job, come and get me. Adam, what do you think about Tottenham at the moment? 10 points ahead of us. Are they really that much better than us at the minute, though?
As a team, they have been all season. Yeah, I think their defense is a different level to ours, especially in the centre of defence. But I think the way they play as a team, as a unit, the way they've been tactically set up by Pochettino has been fantastic. And like Paul said, they didn't make any signings this summer. And what he's done is he's got more out of the likes of Sissoko and players like that in the team that can take a little bit of the pressure of the likes of Eriksen and Cole, but they're still pulling the strings for them. You look at Eriksen, you look at Harry Kane, 2 fantastic players, and 2 players that obviously have fantastic talent, but owe a lot to Pochettino as well for what he's done for them. Because you look at both players, Eriksen left Ajax. He was always highly rated, but one of those big teams never took that chance on him that you would have expected them to have done, and he ended up at Spurs. Obviously, disrespect to Spurs if you want. But, when I saw Eriksen, I thought United, Barcelona, those kind of teams should have been in for him. I remember him playing us off the park when he was part of the Ajax side, and they came to Old Trafford and they were singing Three Little Birds and that. He was amazing, and I think he's a fantastic player. But then you look at what's going on with Spurs and what's going on with their players can also potentially happen to their manager. They have a strict wage bill there at the club, and getting this new stadium isn't going to help that wage bill get any bigger. It isn't going to help their transfer budget get any bigger. So they're going to have to weigh up whether they let Pochettino go, maybe increase a little bit of the wages for some of their star players, and try and bring in another manager that can maybe push those players on a little bit more, or they give Pochettino the money that he wants to buy players and then hope that will keep the rest of the squad there. But it's a weird situation for Spurs, and I could see Spurs I know Arsenal fans will get mad if I said this, but who cares? I can see Spurs, without obviously winning a few Premier Leagues, becoming Arsenal after Arsenal got their new stadium, and simply just, looking to get Champions League football, being very shrewd in the transfer market with how they sell players, buying players for cheap and selling them on at triple the price. I think that's what we're going to see from Spurs now.
Okay then, boys, score predictions. Let's start with Statman Dave. What you saying, mate?
2-1 win to Manchester United.
2-1 win. Paul?
Just like to say, that's not what Dave believes is going to happen. Having just read his facial expressions before he said 2-1, it's like, what can I get away with?
A mind reader.
I'm a believer, Paul.
Yeah, under any circumstances.
Still
apparently.
positive, Steve. Paul. Positivity through the roof.
Listen, you just need to give me a fraction of hope, and I'm ready to go absolutely crazy.
Exactly.
And back Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to the hill. I think that this game will be a 1-1 draw, and that'll be an excellent result for Man United.
Adam, what's your score?
I was going to say a 1-0 draw as well, but I'll go 2-2.
Come on, lads.
I do think.
Negative Nellies are back.
I think we'll start off quite strongly and look to go. I don't think that's a negative score either, by the way, against Spurs. I think we'll start off quite strongly, and we'll either get an early goal or they'll hit us with an early goal, and it will just change the way the game goes. But I'll still back us to get a point. Spurs have had obviously a long season, and United will be coming up against Spurs thinking we cannot let what happened at Old Trafford happen again. So I'm glad the players have kind of got that right. Let me show you guys what we're really about now, because whatever happened at Old Trafford.
My real prediction for this isn't a score really. It's more that it's going to be a really good game. That's the thing. Like, I don't know that the final score is going to depend on tiny fine margins and specific details. Like, does De Gea pick a shot which literally any other goalkeeper would have let in out of the air, and somehow we stop Harry Kane scoring when he was definitely going to? Does one of Pogba's 30-yarders fly into the back of the net? It's going to be fine margins. It's going to be a good game, I think.
We are forgetting one thing as well, lads. It's only Tottenham. And a key part of Manchester United's heritage is thrashing Tottenham. And seeing how much Ole Gunnar Solskjaer respects the culture of Manchester United and knows its heritage, he's going to continue it. We're going to smash him. I'm saying 4-1.
Can I change mine to 5-3?
5-3. We'll take it. Right, thank you very much for watching the Spurs preview. We will be back shortly. Adam will be there with all the fan cams at the weekend, and hopefully the boys can pull out an unbelievable result. So big thanks to Paul from Manchester United Podcast United Rantcast, from Statman Dave, from all over the shop. Go and check him out on YouTube. He's class. He's got loads of subscribers now, loads of them. And Adam McKola, you know where to find Adam. He's got his own YouTube. He's always popping up on Full Time Devils and all over the shop. Right, we'll catch you next time. Laters.